Hello, this is round 10 of the Opera Euro Rapid Preliminary Championship. This is Carlsen versus Nakamura, round 10. So we have d4, knight f6, in which Carlsen won this game against Nakamura. c4, it was quite an exciting ending. Knight to f3, d5, knight c3, bishop e7, bishop f4. We have a queen's gambit declined with bishop f4 variation, castles, a3, I would have played e3, c5, c5 attacking the center. Carlsen exchanges, d takes c5, then bishop takes c5, b4 attacking the bishop, bishop back to e7, e3 to develop the f1 bishop, a5 attacking b4. Carlsen exchanges in the center, c takes d5, knight takes d5. Carlsen decides to take. Nakamura did not play queen takes d5. Here he could have played queen takes d5. That would have given him an isolated d5 pawn. For instance, if queen takes, pawn takes, then white would still have to develop this bishop, then castle, and then a line of rooks probably on d1 and c1 to attack, on d1 to attack this d5 pawn, but black has bishop to e6 as a defense, and then rook to d8. So that pawn should be fairly safe. White could mount pressure on that pawn in play. But we have c takes, d takes, knight takes. Nakamura took back, e takes. Carlsen plays b5. Then we have knight d7, bishop e2, knight c5. Carlsen castles, a4. a4 making an anchor square, b3 for the c5 knight. That would be pretty strong. But once that knight reaches b3, it can be dislodged, it seems, by a future knight d2, or maybe even by the white squared bishop at some point. But knight b3 could be met with knight to d2 eventually. Bishop to e5. The knight does go to b3, attacking the a1 rook. And it's also a great square for the knight. Maybe we could look for a future knight d2. But rook a2, coming on the second rank, it'll play a pivotal role on this second rank because it protects f2. As we'll see later on, the f2 square will be under attack by black. But bishop e6, knight centralizes. That knight, I should have said or knight d4, knight d2. That knight on d4 is attacking the b3 knight now. Instead, Nakamura plays bishop d6, attacking the e5 bishop instead. Carlsen opts to take the e6 bishop. This will give him the bishop pair. Knight takes, pawn takes, then move that e5 bishop, and Carlsen has the bishop pair. That b2 bishop, by the way, is eyeing the king side, g7, also potentially, if he can mount an attack on the king side, if Carlsen can. He could probably place this e2 bishop on d3 at some point also, because the d3 bishop would be pointing to h7, and then probably place the queen on h5 eventually for rook c8. I was going to say, for instance, bishop d3, but I won't go through that line. So rook c8, then g3. It's interesting the computer chose g3 also. I'm trying to think. Bishop takes h, queen takes. But g3 to stop the queen from coming to h4 probably. Queen d7, maybe. Bishop d3. There's that bishop to d3. and with the idea of this queen eventually maybe coming to h5 to start some kind of an attack against black's king side. If that queen were to make it to h5 and then g6, this dark square bishop would be along this diagonal here. That wouldn't be good. And then you would have potential sacrifices on g6 by the white squared bishop. But the position is even. Queen f7, e4. I saw e4 immediately, though the computer just simply likes bishop back to c2, maybe to set a battery on d3 after queen d3. I'm not sure. I don't see it in the variation, but e4 seems logical. Computer prefers d4 now, and then maybe e5. d4 now, but f4 would shut that down. For instance, here e4, computer prefers this move right now, d4, but then comes f4, which ruins any e5 chances, because e5 maybe, well, not now because the queen is on f7. In future e5, you could have f5. Now e5, you simply take it. We have a discovery on f7 here. I'm going ahead, getting ahead, but so bishop c5 now. So queen at f7, e4, then bishop c5 attacking f2. But it looks like after if we have a bishop takes f2, the bishop will be pinned because of the queen on f7. But the king would have to be careful where it would go because queen f3 check. Right now, though, f3 is covered by this this d1, the queen on d1. I had a variation. Let's see, e4, bishop c5, then e takes. Oh, here in e takes, black could take now. Actually, bishop takes f2. Not here, because not king h1 because of knight to d2, and those are computer moves. That's amazing. You can't play queen takes knight because queen to f3 is mate. Queen takes knight, you got queen here, mate. And it's also attacking, well, it would just be a decisive move after knight d2 attacking the f1 rook. So you have to be careful of that. So Naka did have bishop takes, and if king takes, knight d2, the question would be, would Carlsen have seen that? So instead, wait a minute, bishop to f2, instead king g2 would be the correct move. But then notice, you would still play knight d2. Again, computer moves. And then it gets ultra complicated because bishop there is the only resource. And the position is even actually in this position. So bishop takes f2 was a playable move right here, though it would require a huge amount of calculation on a human's part. So instead they play what they know best. Instead of going into those complications, Nakamura played e takes, d5, which 98% of humans would have done. So Carlsen plays bishop to e5, which is a top move. Bishop e5. Nakamura attacks the bishop, rook c e8, bishop f4, cutting off that diagonal, cutting off that route to f2, cutting off the queen to f2 square, and then h6, like a waiting move, but it's also a weakening move. I prefer maybe b6 here. f6, queen to g4, still even. That's a good move. Rook to e6, planning to come to f6, h4. Nakamura decides to attack the queen, because if white were to get that pawn on h4, it would be an anchor for this bishop on d3 to come to g6. h5, queen to d1, then rook to f6. with possibilities of just snatching that rook, of rook takes f4. Then pawn takes, queen takes with initiative. Initiative, I believe, it's complicated. Black would have to weigh his options as to whether or not taking that bishop is worth the sacrifice of the exchange. King to g2. That's an excellent move. That's the top choice move. King to g2. g6. Here, let's see, if rook takes is or then knight d4 instead of queen takes right away. Or queen takes right away, then you have queen takes h5. Threatening queen here, or bishop there. Threatening bishop here. Threatening mate, actually. Bishop here, king to h8, bishop g6, then king to g8, then queen h7 mate. So they don't play this. So he played g6, but as I said, rook takes, g takes, then knight d4 is the preferred move instead of queen takes f4, knight d4. Again, computer moves. I don't see a human realizing it, seeing these moves here. g6, which is slightly weakening. Then here, when I saw g6, I immediately liked this move, bishop g5. But Carlsen does play it through another variation. Instead, bishop h6 attacking the f8 rook. The rook moves. Then bishop g5 attacking the f6 rook. Rook f to e6. Then bishop back. Maybe setting a battery. Queen d3 eventually. Here, white it's almost even. White has a minuscule advantage. Now, this is where Nakamura made a mistake. Bishop c2, Carlsen sets a trap here. Bishop c2. Nakamura plays rook e1. Because the main point is, if rook takes, then queen takes check. Which looks devastating, but the computer still says white has an advantage. But after king here, then rook takes. It looks like black is winning comfortably here. That's brilliant. Queen takes d5 is the best move, and then maybe after queen takes d5, maybe a perpetual. This is a complicated position right now. It's very complicated. With best play, it leads to a draw, but that's only with computer lines. I mean, humans, it's up in the air here. All stemming from rook takes, queen takes. But that was a mistake, rook to e1. Carlsen plays bishop takes g6, which is the winning move here. The point is, after bishop takes, he's going to take the queen with check and then pick up the exchange. Rook takes, then bishop takes check, king takes, then rook takes. He's up the exchange with a better position. Black is absolutely losing here. And he's down a pawn and an exchange. So Nakamura missed. Bishop takes g6. So you have to wonder, Carlsen set this up. He saw it. Evidently, he saw it. Bishop c2. And apparently Naka missed it. He missed it. Bishop takes g6, which is a blow. Blow from the blue. Brilliant move. Bishop takes g6. And now Carlsen sits as the sole leader. Let's see here. I believe I have that. Carlsen sits at 7 points out of 10 games. And Wesley and Jerry sit at 6.5. So it's still a tight race. Anyone can win this tournament. Carlsen has 7. He's leading right now. So Carlsen seems to be in form and playing very well. So, and thanks for watching.